Good morning, USA World, Facebook. How are you? It's Jillian with jillyjuice.com. I wanted to cover this thing with the viruses because it's like a refresher. I mean, if you go to my YouTube and you scroll through all of the just convoluted content, you will find me covering viruses a few months ago. But we need a refresher because of the outbreaks that are going on all over the world. Now, there are natural outbreaks because of viruses being newly discovered from permafrost and from the glaciers and what we would call global warming, the melting of the glaciers and all of that. But also there's biowarfare. I mean, I was taught biowarfare when I was in the military back in 1990, like 94, 95, and then in 2000. So I knew that biowarfare was something that we would have to deal with because that's why the troops had to get anthrax shots. And that's why they give so many vaccines to the troops, because they are exposed to biowarfare. I mean, it's something they used back in the Silk Road, the Mongol days, back in, the 1600s, 1700s. As soon as we figured out how to capture viruses and how to capture bacteria and then put them out there in the environment and watching the fallout, it's been something that has been used for centuries. Okay? Though right now the conspiracy community, which I think is being upheld by our enemies, and we have been infiltrated. I've been focusing on communism making its way into the American government. And so I wouldn't put it past even certain people in these high level places that, okay, that sponsor that or okay it, but then we also have to have antidotes. We have to have remedies. We have to have vaccines to give people a lesser version of these aggressive things. So when you're seeing what's going on in China and the coronavirus being released in that environment and people are weak over there, obviously there's no vaccines for it given there. So you're seeing a lot of people dying because of their aggressive exposure. So that's the whole point of the vaccine campaign, is to get a preemptive exposure to that aggressive virus. And essentially you are filtering that virus through you. I don't know how, we have a lot of predispositions in our society. So even though we've taken that virus down a notch as it's being filtered through us, and we've taken that bullet. So whenever you get a vaccine, even if it's a lesser version, you're still taking the bullet for somebody else. And then when you're home or you're coughing on somebody, you're communicable, but now it's a lesser version. I mean, that is the whole thing about herd immunity, is the fact that one person could get the vaccine, be that environment, that new environment that's exposing itself to another environment, and then everybody then adapts, because that's what viruses are. Viruses and adaptation, evolution all work together. I mean, that's how we were able to evolve as these Homo sapiens, okay? So I remember way back, hold on a second. I remember way back in 2005, and I used to go visit my sister a lot. And well, as far as the holidays, always around the holidays, I would go visit family, and there's always kids around. I would always get sick. It would be inevitable. Every single holiday season, being around family and friends with children, I would always get sick. Or whenever I changed environments, when I went from California to Ohio, from that aggressive warm weather to very, very cold weather, my immunity dropped. And then I was more susceptible to whatever viruses were in the environment. When I went from Ohio to Florida, I got another virus and was really, 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 really sick. Okay, so anytime you get sick, whenever time you get symptoms, you get sick, it's the body's way to adapt to the new environment. And what happens is the body, when it's chronically sick, chronically ill, chronically in pain, the body is just constantly adjusting to an environment that is new, because you don't give it anything more to work with to heal. So that's why then people are in chronic pain, chronic conditions, okay? So anyways, So fast forward on the Jilly juice, me taking the Jilly juice, I would get a bunch of symptoms because that's weaknesses. That's viruses that are in my body, which we all have, but the weaknesses are also there. And now the Jilly juice, when I'm taking Jilly juice, and why I went through symptoms with Jilly juice is because the body is now finally fixing the weaknesses. And that's what symptoms are. If you're taking in a new environment, and it could help you recycle you back to the universe where you die, or it could strengthen you and then you would heal and you never have to visit that weakness or that symptom ever again. So fast forward to today, okay? I was over at the hospital visiting a friend who was there. I was there for 12 hours because we're waiting on the outcome of her heart surgery or her heart diagnosis. And so we as friends, we stayed there for 12 hours waiting. We were there at 7 all the way to like 8 o'clock at night. And I was eating at the cafeteria, hanging around all the different doctors and nurses and picking up viruses left and right. When you're in a hospital, you're picking up viruses everywhere. Okay, viruses are not the cleanest places in the world because people are sick. It's in the air and on the surfaces. And so anyways, yesterday, when you're on the Jilly juice and you're healed and sealed, when you get exposed to a new environment, first of all, as far as viruses and de-evolution, when you get exposed to a virus and you devolve, you'll end up like those that are in the Wuhan province, completely being recycled back to the universe because they're weak. When you're on Jilly juice and you get exposed to a virus, it is actually going to evolve you. It's going to, relative to what you're focusing on and what's going on in your world, it is actually going to evolve you to another level of intellect, awareness. It's going to strengthen your body. So right now, the viruses are not working against me, but they're going to work against those that are weak. The viruses are going to actually work for me. That is what's going on right now, is viruses are actually working for me, because what I felt yesterday was just, I was a little bit tired yesterday. I was eating a bit more. What else? I was blowing my nose a lot yesterday, and even this morning. But no coffee. Now, I was exposed to some kind of virus a couple weeks ago where I woke myself up out of a start, in the middle of my sleep, totally coughing. And I think that was the flu virus that was going around. But my body was strong enough to be able to purge out the excess. That was a couple weeks ago. Yesterday, being exposed to a hospital environment where there's so much sickness and so many viruses floating around, and everybody is all, touching you and shaking your hand and hugging you and all that. Okay. The only physical adaptation I felt yesterday was just blowing my nose and being tired. And when I was taking a nap yesterday, because my body had to adjust, I felt the heat rise. I felt my body adapting, repairing itself from that exposure, from the excess. Okay, and then you eat more because you're trying to feed your body nutrients, and then you poop more, and then you blow your nose. And that's how the body is able to adapt to a new environment. So when you have a very good filtration system, the body is going to release the excess. That's the whole point of J juice, because when you have a stagnation in your immune system, a stagnation in your filtration system, when you have aging going on and degrading and cancer, disease, and chronic illness, you have an overaccumulation of fatty acids, amino acids, prohormones, and minerals. And then when you get sick, the body isn't releasing. And so what is it doing? It is now it's degrading you from the inside. And that's why people get sick for weeks and weeks at a time, because their body is not very strong enough to adapt. And so it's taking a long time. And in the process of your adaptation, it is weakening you. And so when somebody is communicable, they are actually giving away the best part of themselves. That's why I say when you are doing the Jilly juice and you're finally healed and sealed with Jilly juice and you're around people, I say, go get your vaccines, go walk around in a hospital, go, don't be afraid of being out there in the environment, because all of that data from people who are degrading and decomposing, they're giving away their parts, they're giving away their data to you. Okay, so not only are you getting the virus data because that's what is like catching, but you're also getting other DNA information from that person. And that actually is strengthening you because every virus out there has a specific, either it's going to upgrade you or it's going to downgrade you relative to how healthy or how weak your body is. And right now, yes, there is a depopulation agenda. It is self-induced, but there are people that are kind of helping it along, and we do have enemies. Okay, America, people don't like America. North Korea doesn't like America. China tolerates us. We have somewhat diplomatic relations, somewhat trade relations. Okay, but there are people that don't like the American way, and there is biowarfare. You just have to accept that is what's going on. Now, people are saying that our own government is doing it, and I'm saying, no, I would think that biotech is always trying to create something in defense. Like they know that these viruses are being created. They know that things are being experimented in China. China has 1 billion people. I've been to China. Okay, that was one of the first, when I was in San Francisco, when I was in City College San Francisco, I hung out with this chick who was from China, from the Guangdong province. Okay, her dad is a professor at one of the universities, and I was helping her through my anthropology class because English was a second language. And so we decided that we would go to China and she would be my interpreter. Okay, and so she bought the tickets. It was like $800 for the plane ticket and another like $400 for the tour, for a week tour in Beijing. So I, was able to get all of the flight and the hotel and all that stuff for very, very cheap for the yuan or whatever that the Chinese dollars is. Okay, there's a Hong Kong dollar and there's a Chinese dollar, or the yuan. Okay, so I was able to get things for really cheap. And yeah, I mean, it was like back there, it was like $7 for every $1. And I brought like $2,000 with me. So I had a lot of money, okay, in China. But I've been there, and they have like, your city. And I wasn't like in some major metropolitan, like I wasn't like in Shenzhen, but I did go to Hong Kong for a bit. But I did also went from Hong Kong into the rural parts of China, and it's like a third world country out there. And there are factories with people that live on the factories, and there are probably remote biolabs out there. And then there's different, and then they use the people, because you have 1 billion people, that's going to be expendable. They're going to be your guinea pigs. They're going to test things out. Okay, so I wouldn't put it past the people that don't like America to throw bioweapons, and people are the carriers. Okay, and so for you not to be communicable and destroy a weak body, you have to be strong and keep the symptom, not taking a Mucinex or something that's going to stop the symptoms. But the whole point of Jilly Juice is to be asymptomatic, completely 100% healthy. And then when you feel like you're in an adaptation schedule or going through an adaptation process, like going from summer to fall to winter, or you go to a hospital, get exposed to all these different viruses, you stay home. But I was blowing my nose. That was it yesterday, and no coughing really. And I slept. And I felt the heat rise in my body, which means my body, when the heat rises in your body, it means the body is taking care of anything that's excess. It builds up the antibodies to go and do what it needs to do to take care of the balance out the body from excess bacteria data. And then the body then works on bringing it to the lymphatic system and through the digestive system to get it out of your body. So when you blow your nose, so I notice when I blow my nose, I fart. Why is that? Because those two are connected. And so if I need to help myself poop, I blow my nose, and there you go. So the communication between my ass and my mouth and my nose, ear, nose, and throat is completely clear. It's unobstructed. I don't have mounds and mounds of shit stopping the communication between all points of my body. And so that is how you want your body to be completely, like, strategically working effectively the way it was intended. But right now, why people are dying is because they have so many obstructions in everything. They have blockages, they have excess, and they don't have a strong immune system or a strong body. So when they get exposed to a virus that the body doesn't recognize, then you have a very rapid amount of antibodies that then start accumulating. And if you have a weak heart or a weak, cardiovascular system, then you could potentially risk dying from strokes and heart attacks because of your exposure. So the J juice is only going to the J juice and viruses are only going to strengthen me. The viruses will never ever take me down because my body is working that effectively at the cellular level. So that's why I'm not scared of the coronavirus or the Ebola virus. If they do mandatory vaccinations, I will take part. If anything, I'd want it because that's more data that my body, because what it is, these are upgrades. It's only a downgrade to your body where you die from a virus is if you have a weak body. That's what cancer is. It's viruses that are on weak parts of your body. So when you get the AIDS virus, that is the virus that's going to either strengthen your immune system or it's going to destroy it. And if you have a weak immune system, guess what? The AIDS virus is going to destroy you. No different than any other viruses, a herpes virus, the human papilloma virus. There's a million viruses. There's like the bronchogene virus, okay? And those are either going to strengthen your breast or reproductive system, or it's going to weaken it based upon the state of your body. That's why you can be, you have two people getting the same vaccine. One person will have adverse reactions, another person won't. You know why? Because one person has a stronger body, the other person doesn't. But, we can't tell people you should get a vaccine or not to get a vaccine because you have no idea their predispositions. It has to be left up to a doctor to determine if that's appropriate. Okay? So here's the thing. Those people out there in the world that have a long memory called China, they know and have seen, they have learned, they've had biowarfare pulled on them by the Japanese. They've been going through their own economical changes as far as socialism, communism, all this stuff. Now they're straight up communism with a little bit of capitalism in choice areas. But they have learned from all of their enemies. Okay? And so now we're America, guys. We are the land of innovation for the most part. I don't know. I can't speak what's going to happen in the future, but for right now, we are the land of innovation. This Jilly juice is going to be the one that's going to break you out of the communism that they're trying to put upon it. Now, as far as the whole Second Amendment, that's not the only thing about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So some people, that's the only thing that focus on is the Second Amendment. There's a lot more to the Constitution, but really when it all comes down to it, you want to stay alive. Because we have laws in place, we have the Constitution, we have the Bill of Rights, we have laws in our society. But if you start breaking laws of your body and the laws of your community, you're not going to survive and live to adapt to, because let me tell you, if the government or China or whoever wants to kill you, you would be dead. You wouldn't be around, flopping around, wondering if you should live or die or survive or not. Okay? Their whole goal, yes, on the Georgia Guidestones is to have at least 500 million. When you think about it, that's like little communes all over the world. When you break up 500 million, divide that by, 100, and you can figure out how many people are in each, 100, communes. And then you break that up again, we have 7 billion people on the planet. To go down to 500 million, that's a lot of people completely being decimated. So that's why I understand now the thing with the vaccine campaign, why they're saving babies' lives in Africa and third world countries, but they're giving the vaccines that, could go either way for those that either are strong or weak on people who have predispositions. And so it's like you roll the dice, but you get exposed to the virus, you're going to have a very quick reaction, which is death. So no matter what, you're going to roll the dice on a weak body, whether you get the vaccine or not. Even exposed to someone who got the vaccine that was the one that took the bullet for you, you're still going to risk some adverse reaction because your body is that weak and you have that many predispositions. Okay? So when you have a place like China that has 1 billion people and they have, and maybe 300 million can be expendable. When you look at the quarantine right now in China, in the Wuhan province, and even those after, they have 23 million people under quarantine. They can afford to lose 23 million people. Could we afford to lose that many people? That's a lot of people in your community. We only have 300 million. They got 1 billion. It's going to be hardly a dent. So that's why, you know, the J juice is so important for those that understand it and to implement it, because you have no idea how all this is going to go. And the environment is becoming more aggressive, whether it's heating or cold or viruses or pathogens or bacteria. There is right now an influence of communism all over. They call it sustainable development. They call it green fascism. They call it all these different things. Agenda 21. Okay. There is a plan for the world. And so you either going to adapt to it, or you'll just live out your life and hope that you get to do all the things you want to do. And you're like, see you later, sayonara. So right now, the viruses that I was exposed to in that hospital strengthened me. But on a weaker person, it will degrade them. Some people can ignore the symptoms and work through it. Other people, you know, have to lay down and do whatever they got to do. But I allowed my body to heal from the exposure and to adapt. But some people can be exposed to it. They have a very good immune system, a lot of antibodies, but they are very strong and they have enough minerals and nutrients in their body to be able to heal from that. Okay. So understand that viruses on a weak body will recycle you back into the universe. Viruses on a strong body will only evolve you into the next level. And that's the thing that we have to understand about evolution, is that how we came to be these Homo sapiens is the fact that we have viruses and we know how to adapt, and it knows how to adapt, and then we know how to adapt to the environment. And that's what evolution is the fact that you have been exposed to viruses and your body's able to adapt to the environment, and you can still live. And then, yeah, you procreate, but it does weaken your genetic line every time you procreate. So that's why you have to keep strengthening your body. So that's also in the Georgia Guidestones, where it's like guiding reproduction carefully. When you have 500 million people, that's easier to guide reproduction carefully than 7 billion. So how do you do a reset? You release a virus that kills off people that are weak, or it'll weaken a strong population, and then it will systematically degrade you. Okay, so that's why the J juice is so important. And it, you know, it's so interesting how the outbreaks are coming up in 2020. The J juice was introduced in 2016 and gone through its own incubation period the last 3 years, 4 years, and now finally it's at its heyday. It's at its ultimate best, to where it's able to compete with the viruses that are out there, with the weaknesses that are out there. It is no coincidence. Okay, the universe has a plan. It has a balance of life and death, and you can either be on the life side or be on the death side. It's now up to you. The depopulation agenda is actually a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you can fall into that, or you can be those that are like, oh, Jilly Juice is going to kill you, though they have family and kids that are full of cancer, disease, and chronic illness, and now they got to fight this virus that's out there somewhere. The Jilly Juice should be the least of your worries if you have kids with cancer, disease, and chronic illness. If you are so critical of me, you should worry about your child, your mom, your dad, you. So it's just, I'm in the best place ever. Okay. And all of you that are doing the J juice are in the best place ever. You just keep doing it. You keep doing the J juice, deal with the symptoms. Okay. Make time for healing. Make room for healing. Chill out, drink a bunch of the juice. Like, I take shots of my kale juice every so often. I'm telling you, kale juice is like a major shot of energy. Every single time I take a shot of my kale juice, because I'll tell you, if I do like, you know, like 4 cups of kale, like a quart of kale juice, oh my God. I mean, it's like waterfalls and then whoo. But if I take a shot of it, like I had a cinnamon roll last night and I took a shot of my J juice, because that's the sugar and that's the carbs. And then the J juice, the salt and the macronutrition and the probiotics and the water. It was an amazing combination. Okay. And so I derived so much energetic benefit. And this morning, everything was released. And that's how it's supposed to work. Okay. So, but you guys that are just starting, you've got to work through all the blockages, all of the weaknesses. You got to work through every single trauma you've ever dealt with from past, present, and future. And you just got to just make the time, make the room for it. Because I'm telling you what, it is competitive out there. You're not competing against Americans now, you're competing against the world. But you have a leg up because you got J-Juice. They don't. They're your friends and family or whatever are too afraid of it. But you will stand the test of time. J-Juice will stand the test of time. Just stay on it, guys. I'm telling you, it's probably the most amazing thing ever, and it's no coincidence. The universe understands balance. It's no coincidence. Stay on the J-Juice because it's amazing. All right. The book that's out right now, forget the politics about the anti-vax. I'm not anti-vax. I'm not even pro-vax. I'm just like, do what you got to do to protect yourself. But it has the protocol in it. You can get the ebook for like $9. You can get the paperback for like $19 or go to Amazon or whatever. The second book that we are working on, me and Kevin's still working on the skeleton of it. And then if I need to put in some meat in there, he will, or I will. So it's going to be, he's really, he's now putting all of his energy into it. And so give us some time, but we're going to have everything that we're talking about as far as reproduction, as far as evolution and viruses and the science behind it all and the J-Juice and what to expect and, everything that you could possibly know why J-Juice is going to be amazing for the future and for now. Okay. And understand that right now humans have been DNA methylating themselves because they're so full of poop. The whole point of the waterfalls is to basically demethylate you. Because when you have poop hanging around in your system, it's asphyxiating your cells, causing epigenetics, mutations. And that's why you then see cancer disease, chronic illness, diabetes, autoimmunity, all that. Okay. So no matter what, you will feel symptoms on J-Juice relative to your predispositions, but you will be supported by the right chemistry behind it. Okay. And so the coronavirus is a respiratory virus. So it's going to strengthen your respiratory system, those that are on the J-Juice, and it's going to weaken those who have respiratory issues and a weak body. So you got to do the J-Juice. No matter what, do the J-Juice. Hugs, you guys. Talk to you later. Send me an email with the receipt if you want to join in my group. Bye.